Is the quintessential dish of Puerto Rican cuisine.
I feel like we don't talk enough about pasteles.
Pastas. Okay, tell me why.
And it's the ultimate metaphor of what Puerto Rico is, which is the mix of races that we have going on. So you're eating this plantain that's wrapped in this leaf that came from Africa, and then there's some root vegetables that were indigenous. They belong to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Nobody brought that here.
Yeah.
And then you add the meat, which is pork, that came with Spain.
So I have to ask you, some people have told me, oh, I love pasteles with ketchup.
And that's United States.
No.
That's a look at the new season of the Hulu show Taste the Nation, hosted by award-winning author, host, and executive producer Padma Lakshmi. The series takes viewers across America with Padma to explore the rich food and culture of immigrant groups in the United States. The show's second season streaming now on Hulu. And joining us now is Padma Lakshmi. She also, of course, the host, executive producer of Top Chef, which, believe it or not, currently in its 20th season. Padma, great to see you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
This Hulu show is so fun. Great food, great culture, great characters, clearly, as you have the debate about ketchup in Puerto Rico. And as is the case with all of these episodes of Taste the Nation, that discussion wasn't really about ketchup. It was about something else. So you get food, but you get culture and politics as well.
Exactly. I mean, the show is called Taste the Nation because it's a play on, Face the Nation. And it is a direct result of my work with the ACLU on immigrant rights. I started working with them in 2016 after that election for obvious reasons. There was a lot of vitriol about immigrants, which I took umbrage with as an immigrant in this country. And I wanted to do something using everything that I had learned working with them, but in an artistic and creative way in my professional life. And that's how Taste the Nation was born. I created it, really to speak to hopefully not people who think like me or vote like me, but to people in red states who are maybe afraid of immigration or afraid of diversity. And I'm hoping that it'll make every American curious about their fellow Americans because, layers and layers over decades and decades of immigrants are what I think make this country so powerful, not only economically or militarily, but also as far as pop culture and cuisine and all sorts of things. That, microcosm of the best of the world because of all the people who have contributed to our culture and our economy make, in my opinion, America a superpower.
And food is such a great way in. It's something we all enjoy together. It's not political, but you can sit and have a conversation about some thorny stuff over a good meal. And you really travel the country from Appalachia to a great episode that you were just telling us about in Houston, Texas. What did you find when you went to Houston?
Well, Houston has the largest Nigerian American population, and most people who don't live in Houston may not realize how big that population is. And that group, that community, the Nigerian Americans in America are the most educated of any American. So even more than Asians, which is the stereotype. They have more advanced degrees than anybody, and they've come here for all sorts of reasons, academia, the oil industry in Texas. And, when we go into a community and we look at who they are and we let them tell their story. I mean, the show is about me giving my platform to people who usually don't get A-list, high-caliber media attention. When you go there, we try to also have a thesis for each episode that extrapolates another facet of this huge subject, which is so integral to the forming and evolution of America, which is immigration. And of course, Nigerian Americans are perceived as just black, especially those Nigerian Americans who have grown up in this country, like me. I'm Indian, but I've grown up in this country. So in that episode, we're also tackling blackness in America. And as somebody who's obviously not black, it was a very sensitive subject that I wanted to make sure I waded carefully into. But, while I may not know what it's like to stand in somebody's shoes who is African American, I certainly know what it's like to stand next to them all my life and see what's happened to them. And so we talk about blackness not being a monolith, and Nigerian American mothers and fathers feeling like, they don't carry the burden and heritage of all of what Black Americans do, and yet it's foisted upon their shoulders. When a cop pulls their son over, they're not going to say, oh, you're Nigerian, okay, you can go. You know, you're Black. And so they have to contend with it, even though they may not initially identify with some of the same issues, you know, that are left over from Jim Crow and et cetera.
You know, the introduction of food into culture as a doorway into culture and into politics and into demography is endlessly fascinating. One of the trips, one of the shows that you did took place in Lowell, Massachusetts, which I think has per capita the highest Cambodian population in the United States of America. If not number one, it's close. And the Cambodian population in Lowell, Massachusetts has not only transformed themselves economically, they've transformed the city.
Yes.
They've made it a better, more unique place to live, and part of that is the food that they bring with them. I think we have a clip of the Cambodia, of the Lowell, Massachusetts show. Could we show that now?
Great.
Just a clip.
One morning, I remember I woke up, my mom and dad say, we gotta move from our house. You know, that's when the Khmer rule take over. I don't know what happened. Is something go wrong? They catch all those people, including my dad, took him away, and I never see him again. I don't really remember what my dad looked like. I was so young back then. Every time I bring it up, I always have this emotion. It's like, this has really happened to me, and it did.
That it breaks my heart every time I see that. And, you know, it's true. Again, we try to address a different issue. In Puerto Rico, it was food sovereignty and just sovereignty in general. In Cambodia, it was my answer to people who say that we shouldn't let asylum seekers or refugees or immigrants in. And I went to school near Lowell, Massachusetts in Worcester, and I used to drive by it all the time. And in the 80s and 90s, it went through a really rough period, like so many New England towns who went kind of bust, frankly, you know, with the factory or the steel mills closing. And nobody wanted to live there. The property values tanked. This is a very tawny, you know, it's named after Robert Lowell, I'm imagining. And the property values went down. A lot of stores got boarded up, you know, in the main streets of Lowell. And so Cambodians came there literally with the clothes on their back. You know, they didn't have an advanced degree. They didn't have even the language. And yet within a generation, they have not only revitalized the community and the economy, they have opened up businesses. And as you say, the Cambodian food is extraordinary there. And they've even cleaned up the local river because they are a fishing people and they wanted to use it. And now every citizen in Lowell can fish and picnic by the riverside. I mean, when was the last time you fished in an American river, you know, which is kind of cool to me. And that allows me to show rather than tell why I think that we need to be a little bit more open-hearted, as we have been in previous generations of our country's history.